Good night, Papua New Guinea. I'm Malcolm Wara, and welcome to another episode of Infocus. In the current age of information, computer technology has become an integral part of society, from improving the methods of communication, functioning of governments, the facilitation of trade, commerce, and business. Whilst the advancement in technology has been immensely beneficial to society, it has also been exploited for sinister purposes by individuals and organizations, thus highlighting the need for more proactive cybersecurity measures. The PNG Cyber Security, Cyber Defense and Cyber Intelligence Association, Inc. is a corporate social responsibility initiative that seeks to bring together academia, industry, government to discuss and foster collaboration to drive the industry forward. This year, the 2023 Cyber Conference will see the country's inaugural Cyber Conference. The conference will discuss issues in cyber education, policy, industry needs, and look into the current cyber landscape. Joining us for discussions tonight in the studio, we have Solomon Wesley Sua. He is the president of PNG Cyber Security, Defense and Intelligence Association, Inc. Solomon, thank you for joining us.
It's a privilege to join you on this show.
Solomon, firstly, what is your perception of the current state of cybersecurity in Papua New Guinea, and what challenges are being faced in this area?
The cybersecurity landscape in the country is challenging. At the same time, it poses a lot of risk to our government departments and agencies, in a sense that we are running low on cybersecurity experts that can defend our critical infrastructures, that can defend our systems. So at the moment, we have a very serious problem in cybersecurity expertise shortage. At the same time, the right tools and techniques that can be deployed to defend our systems in the country.
We've had numerous instances where there have been recent cyber attacks on government institutions as well as private sector institutions. The recent one being the Finance Department cyber ransomware. I think it was alleged that 120 million kina was stolen, or reportedly stolen. So, can you explain how this happened?
Cyber ransomware attack is a type of cyber attack that locks files and computer systems. So the one that we experienced in the Department of Finance was in the 22nd of October 2021. What happened was that there may be an email or a file link that must be sent, and someone must have clicked it, because this is how ransomware works. Ransomware works in when they send you an email and you click on that link, what happens is that the malware that comes in and it locks the file. So that is what happened in the Department of Finance. And reported 120 million kina stolen was a little bit of a misreporting there, because this is how cyber ransomware works. There are two types of cyber attacks. One is a cyber ransomware and one is a cyber haste, that is to do with cases like this one. So let me put it in a kind of a situation or explanation that a layman can understand. And this is like this. In a house, you have your kitchen, your toilet, your bathroom, your rooms, and all of that. So in the night, someone would impose as an aunt or an uncle and trick the kid to open the door. So they come in, and imagine that they come in the night and you are sleeping and they lock all the rooms. Your cupboard door, your fridge doors, your main door, your parents' room as well, and then in the morning realize that every door was locked. So that guy who impersonated as an aunt or an uncle would leave a message and say that if you want me to open the door, call me on this number. That's how ransomware works. The other one is a cyber haste. It's called cyber haste or electronic robbery. It is just like a robbery, but this is electronically done. So what happened is the same imposter would come in, and this time trick your kid and come in, but this time instead of locking your doors, what it does is that he or she would hide in a corner where your parents or the owner of the house wouldn't see. He or she would be in there and monitor when are you dropping your kids off, when are you having breakfast, when are you having lunch. So he would monitor all of this. And in the process, they normally don't act quickly. They would wait for a week or so, and then they would see your movement, and in the process, they study your house and they see that there's a gap at the back door, so they create a back door. And then they steal all the things out. So these are the two different types of cyber attacks that can be done in such cases like finance. So Department of Finance is not a bank, so what happened is that they never stole that money. It's a ransomware attack done, but then the finance department has what we call business continuity and disaster recovery plan. So the secretary and the team there can be commended because they quickly bounce back from that attack and then get the systems up and running. So our public servants are being paid. The importance of finance department. So a ransomware attack, they locked the files, but they managed to recover them from their backups, and then they have a disaster recovery plan, so they continued. And today the system is up and running. So they never stole that money, and the Department of Finance actually bounced back. So I think we can give some credit to the guys there, okay. Secretary and the guys at the Department of Finance.
Okay. What are some interventions would you propose the Department of Finance and government in general enforce or implement it within their organizations to prevent such attacks in the future?
The thing is that they must proactively manage their cybersecurity, or they manage their systems there. Proactive in a way that they must know what are the loopholes they have, and they must know the possibility of like a malware or a ransomware attack would come in, and then they must know where to defend them. So that is very key. If they manage to look after the systems blindly, then they will still be attacked. So the key thing is in that case is that they must have the right incident response plans in place. They must have the right tools and techniques in place. And they must have things like firewalls, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems. All of these systems will help the IT department to proactively manage them. And on top of that, cybersecurity issue is a boardroom issue, meaning that it must be handled from the boardroom. The chairmen of our, let's say our SOEs, the secretary of our departments, departmental heads, they must not think that cybersecurity is some IT problem and they put it to the director of IT or let's say first assistant secretary for the IT department, in our government department cases. They must control it from the top, and then they must integrate with HR, with other departments. So cybersecurity now becomes the integral part of it. At the moment, it is the elephant in the room, but no one is having attention on that one. So that's the problem we have. They must have the right policies, procedures, frameworks, and the tools and in place so that they will proactively manage the cybersecurity risks that are facing us today.
You've mentioned how critical is it for heads of departments or heads of organizations to take heed of cybersecurity. How critical is it for organizations and individuals in Papua New Guinea to prioritize cybersecurity, and what are some of the risks of not doing so?
There's another critical component. Our country's economy runs on IT systems, and we call it information technology and operational technology. There's IT and OT. So, like in the National Airports Corporation, they have about 7 or 8 OT systems they run. And the Department of Finance, we know it's like they run the IFMS system, the Integrated Finance Management System. There may be the Treasury may be running another one to release the warrants. All of that. So it is very critical in the sense that if they don't, and if we experience a cyber attack in one of those critical areas, we are at the risk of the entire government getting shut down. We saw what happened when finance was under attack. The entire government, the entire country came to a standstill. Payments were not going through. Public servants wouldn't get the pays. All the warrants they released, they couldn't process it through the electronic payment system. So it is very critical for everybody at the corporate level, at the boardroom level down. They must take this cyber threat seriously, because the failure to do so will shut down those companies, and that will have a very huge impact on our economy. Let's take one example, PNG Power. If they don't take the cybersecurity seriously, imagine a cyber attack on our power grids will shut down the economy. There won't be any electricity, there won't be any factories up and running, there won't be fuel service stations would come to a standstill. It has a very, very bad impact on our economy. So the first line of defense is that all the departmental heads must take cybersecurity seriously, and they must incorporate them into their plans, their corporate plans, and they run it seriously, because the economy of our country depends on those very critical infrastructures and systems.
Thank you, Solomon. We now take a quick break. Join us on the other side for more discussions. Welcome back to Infocus. We continue our discussions with Solomon Wesley Sua on the topic of cybercrime and cyber security. Solomon, what role can the government play in promoting and regulating cybersecurity in Papua New Guinea as a core stakeholder within the cybersecurity space?
The Department of ICT is the custodian in this aspect. So what the government interventions they can do is that they must introduce the right legislations and right policies, right frameworks to especially cybersecurity and cyber crime. So the government, through the Department of ICT, has already made huge interventions. One is the Digital Government Bill 2021, and the next one is the Digital Government Plan that they're having for 2023 to 2030, I think. And these are the interventions that the government must do, and then both sides of the parliament, when it comes to passing those bills, they must be bipartisan approach. It doesn't matter which side of the party you are in, it doesn't matter which side of political affiliation, but when it comes to cybersecurity, these are issues that are transcending these political boundaries and party affiliation. So they must support these government interventions that are already in place. And I think the department is also working on the cybersecurity policy, which might turn into a bill. So the government intervention is that at the policy level, they must intervene quickly and then make funding available to the Department of ICT. I think the minister and the secretary, they are doing a tremendous job. The government can continue to support on that. That's the greatest intervention the government can do by way of putting up the right policies and legislations and bills.
Other key stakeholders include the industry and academia. How can they both contribute to fostering cybersecurity within the country?
That is very critical because the academia, industry, and the government, they must collaborate or they must converge to fight this vicious the war that we are in. This is called a cyber war. So some people might think that World War III will come later, but I tell you, my brother, this World War III is already here. So the industry, what they can do is that they also must need to come up with their own policies, and they must train they come up with their workforce, cybersecurity workforce policies. What that does is that you don't need to be, it's like you don't need to be a mechanical engineer to drive a vehicle or change the, let's say, the water level or the oil level. That you can do, or change your tire. Cybersecurity is like that. So every industry, corporation out there, they must have cybersecurity policies that train the workforce. Because at the end of the day, the human being is the weakest link. The cyber ransom attacks and all this finance or NCSL or whatever is happening, there is someone click something. So that someone is a human being. So we have to protect that human being, and the way to do it is that you train them to think like they are in a world that is cybersecurity is there. So before they click on every email, they must think twice before they click, for instance. So what they can intervene is they can put in the right policies and procedures. On the academia, what they can intervene is they must offer courses. Like right now, we may not have courses in the University of Papua New Guinea or University of Technology that specifically talks about cybersecurity or cybercrime. So there may be courses like Bachelor of Cybersecurity, Bachelor of Cybercrime, Bachelor of Cyber Intelligence. All that needs to be put in by academia. And then on top of that, what they do is that the call is now on all academics to do R&D, research and development. Yes. They must invest in that. So these are the three, these are areas where the three can converge and be vigilant in these times that we're in.
Yes. As you mentioned, what organizations could do, what can individuals in Papua New Guinea do to improve the cybersecurity posture, but may not have the resources or expertise to do so? So from an individual front, what can they do?
From the individual front, that's another critical one. That now, what you already discussed is like at the government level and at the corporate level. But at an individual, Papua New Guinea must know that everybody has a digital twin. Like you, someone like yourself is out there, but it's the digital version of you. Your Facebook account, your Instagram, your all these other social media accounts, and the searches that you are doing, all of that are there. So even in every individual, before you click on that link that someone sent you to your WhatsApp, before you do that, you have to have your cyber hygiene. In the house, you would have hygiene. You have to be clean in whatever areas that you want. So this cyber hygiene is also there. Make sure that you don't put too much information on Facebook. Make sure that don't expose your travel details. Make sure you don't post too much of yourself out in the digital world. Because what they do is that your adversaries will use those, and they will come up with a profile of yourself, digital profile, and they can launch that to attack you. They can find out what are your weaknesses, what do you love to do most. They can find out what are your best times that you are active, the other times that you are weak. So what they do, they might launch an attack. So be careful in what you put out there, in Facebook, in social media, in whatever things, because those can be used against you.
Very astute points of discussion by our guest. We will now take a quick break and return with more on the other side. Welcome back to Infocus. Still in the studio with me is Solomon Wesley Sua, the president for the PNG Cyber Security, Defense Intelligence Association, Inc. Solomon, how do you see the field of cybersecurity evolving in Papua New Guinea in the coming years, and what do you see for organizations like the organization of which you are the president of, the PNG Cyber Security, Defense and Intelligence Association, in this process?
The future of our cybersecurity in PNG is a little bit stiff, in a sense that cybersecurity is a tough field that you need to have the commitment and the zeal and passion for your country to go in. So it's not an easy fit to go in. So that alone poses a lot of skills gaps in there. And these problems are not only facing us, it is also a problem in the developing world too. So the way I'm seeing cybersecurity in the next probably 5 to 10 years is that we will have a little bit of a tough challenge to do. But the interventions in this where currently the government is doing and all that, if they continue on this pace, even if the government changes, even in whatever changes, but if they continue the trend that we are going now, then I see that in the next 5 to 10 years, we might have cybersecurity experts and all that. But in the next 5 years, I'm predicting that we will still struggle with this, but hopefully the interventions that are put in place and the individuals concerned should take up the challenge and take this as a national threat, and we must take it with, importantly, with patriotism. When you love your country and when you do it, then you will succeed. If you do it for money or other things, then the passion is missing, the zeal is missing for our country, then we might miss it. So we have to be equipped with passion and patriotism, because these are challenging threats that are affecting and threatening us, so we have to stand up and take the challenges head on. So the only way to do it is there's to be powered by our passion and patriotism. And the way we can draw this from is like we look at our founding fathers. Our Grand Chief said, point to the young girls and said that your lawyers and your accountants, and they're coming from these young girls. So we are that Grand Chief's dream. We are the ones that he was telling us that they're coming. So now we don't think that another generation is coming. We are the one. We must step up, build ourselves with patriotism, and take the challenge head on. Otherwise, this is a challenge that we will face in the years ahead.
Yes. From a broader perspective, what impact do you think improved cybersecurity can have on the economy and the society of Papua New Guinea as a whole?
First, impact that the right approaches that we take to put in our cybersecurity systems, it will blend well with the vision of the government. They want to make the country the richest black Christian nation, and other interventions and slogans they're putting up. That will only happen when the cybersecurity of the country is at its best, meaning that we may not have all the solutions, we may not have all the what, but whatever interventions that are already in place, we can work towards those and then make sure that those bits and pieces of our, like our digital poster, like our attack vectors, we must know where we are going, like defend ourselves. These are the things that we must put in resources and tools that will help us to know our adversaries, where they're coming from, and then put in the better places. If we don't know our enemy, then we will have a problem. So these are the things that we must do to, at the broader scale, to defend our country and to see the good impacts of those policies in place. So at the end of the day, the government will run smoothly, the economy can grow to 100 billion, as the Prime Minister is saying. All of that can be done on a robust and a resilient critical infrastructure. So these are the very critical things that we must do in there. And result of all that is that we will have an economy that is flourishing. Otherwise, attack on one of these critical infrastructures and it will send us back 10, 20 years. So that's the kind of, at the broader scale, we must know that whatever things a corporate organization is doing, the government department is doing, at the end of the day, if you do it right, our economy is flourishing. If you don't do it right, it will affect our country and we will still complain and grumble and like things that are happening today. So I think it is imperative, it is very critical that we must put our all focus on this to make sure that we defend it in the first place. and rather than doing a reactive one when they attack us and we look for the person who is behind this. We defend our systems, we put in the right solution, and I believe that then only our economy flourishes, because economy runs on those critical infrastructures which we need to protect.
Yes. Can you share any success stories or examples of organizations in Papua New Guinea who have taken steps to improve their cybersecurity and have seen positive results?
The one industry that Malcolm, I can pick up is the banking industry. The BSP and the Kina Bank and all our banks, they're doing fine. What they're doing is that they put in a network, but they don't put all the eggs in one basket. They segment and they segregate their networks. So one attack comes in through one attack in one system, then it must not affect the other. So the banking industry is already resilient in what they're doing. So we can commend the banks, BSP, Kina Bank, and the Central Bank too. They're putting in the right. So what the corporate world and the departments can learn from them is that you put in the right defenses in place, and you put in proactive systems that would defend you, that would tell you, or that would give you the capability to run your system in real time. Like, you know what is happening, what is going in and out of the network. If you don't know, then that's the problem, that they will capitalize and attack us. But the banks are doing fine, so I think there are a lot of lessons that the departments can learn from the banking industry.
Finally, do you have any concluding remarks you'd like to make regarding cybersecurity? I understand there's an incoming conference that you'll be hosting sometime soon.
In the concluding remarks, we, just before I go to that one, just a quick one on, we touch on the Department of Finance, but there's another one, you may have seen the one on NCSL. There's an attack, the investigations are going on there, so that is the first time one of our savings and loan society or on the financial sector is being hit. Earlier on, I said the banks are doing fine. Well, NCSL also doing fine, but I think they gave us until tomorrow, Friday the 17th, to take the system back. So there's another attack there's on. So there is no industry or department is immune. Even in the developing world, you see Medibank in Australia. It's a developed country, but they're being attacked, so we are all prone to these kind of things. So that's the reason why we come up with the PNG Cyber Security, Cyber Defense, Cyber Intelligence Association, Inc. We are putting our Cyber Security Conference. It is an inaugural one. There are technology conferences, there are other conferences that we have in the country, but they focus on other aspects of technology, and then they put 1 or 2 sessions on cybersecurity. This association, we are coming up with this conference that would be on the 3rd to the 5th of May 2023. That is purely 3 days on cybersecurity alone, no other topics on technology. So there'll be interesting things. We will be doing live hacks. We want to see live demonstration on how hacking is done on a computer system for a banking industry or any other government department. We'll have about 3 or 4 sessions that will show Papua New Guinea how these things are done. And of course, with some disclaimer that they won't be using those against doing the bad stuff, but these are the things. So there is a conference, 3 days of packed with topics on cybersecurity alone and in the Papua New Guinea context, not on any other developing country or so, but it is all in the context of academia. Like Western Pacific University is joining us. They already came on as a academia partner, so we're looking forward to that. That's the conference, that 3 days of purely cybersecurity, no other technology in it.
Yes. Thank you, Solomon. Unfortunately, time is caught up with us. It's been a very educative discussion on our topic for tonight, cybersecurity in Papua New Guinea. Before we go, I'd like to take this time to thank our special guest, Solomon Wesley Sua, the president for the PNG Cyber Security, Defense and Intelligence Association, Inc. Sir, thank you for your time.
It is a pleasure to be on the show, and looking forward to some more engagements in this. Thank you, Malcolm.
On behalf of the entire Infocus team, thank you for joining us, and do join us next week for another episode of Infocus. Until then, good night from us.